Listen, if you're stuck using Canva to create digital assets because there's no budget for a graphic designer, then stick around as I show you how to make the switch from Canva to Adobe XD. Let's get started.
Yeah, baby.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Under Budget Marketing Design. My name's Richard and I'm here to help you make the switch from Canva to Adobe XD. Now, chances are, if you're watching this video, you're kind of stuck in a strange place. You're a marketer who's not a graphic designer and doesn't have any graphic design skill, or no, that sounds wrong. You have skill, but you just don't have the time to maybe develop that skill some more. So you're kind of, stuck using Canva because it's the only solution you have right now that can help you, make your digital assets for your webinars and your ebooks and whatever you need to make. But I'm here to tell you that maybe Canva isn't the best bet for you. Maybe it's time for you to graduate from Canva to Adobe XD. And if so, you're in the right place because I'm going to teach you how to do that. Now, I know Adobe XD isn't free, as Canva is. I know Canva has a free paid version, but Adobe XD is that next level. It's that next level shit, as they say. It's going to help you take your digital assets and make them a little bit more polished, make them look a little bit more clean. It's definitely going to make your company look better in general. Now, Adobe XD, I believe, is like $26, $25 a month. And I know for sure your company's paying more in coffee. So maybe if you just started drinking instant coffee or, switch to tea, but just beg, try to make the business case you're higher up to purchase Adobe XD because it's definitely going to help you out in the long run. So let's get started. First things first, you want to open up Adobe XD, and you're going to be presented with this little pop-up screen. From here, you have a couple options. You can, make some basic artboards for the iPhone, the iPad, the web, whatever. And then down here, it'll just show you your most recent files that you opened. And then this little guy here shows you updates and whatnot. Now, seeing as you don't have time to really, get in the weeds with Adobe XD, I'm going to show you how to make things quicker, the quick and dirty way, if you will, right? So let me show you how to create your first artboard, right? So what I like to do is just double click on this custom size. You could, type in something here like 800 by 800, and that'll create an artboard for 800 by 800. But we're not going to do that. I'll just show you what I like to do. You just double click on this little guy here, and then it will open up the canvas, and then you're presented with all these cool little features. Now, it might seem intimidating, but to tell you the truth, I personally believe that Adobe XD is the easiest Adobe product to learn. You've probably been, dabbling in Photoshop and maybe some other programs like Illustrator and heck, maybe even InDesign. But this one is definitely the easiest. It's a super lightweight program and it creates digital assets really quick and efficiently. So what I'm going to do is I will open up the file I have here. Here we go. So we have some artboards here. We have our little humanly logo that I created. This is a fake HR company that cares deeply about you, but don't worry because it's fake. So this is just a placeholder. I don't know what your company is going to look like. I don't know anything about your company. You know that. So from your experience, you would just update the logo and the colors and the fonts based on your corporate identity. If you don't have anything established now, I would suggest maybe, just kind of using Helvetica and develop your brand as you go. It's always definitely a living, breathing thing. So, like I said, here we go. So we have our social post. This social post will be, obviously used for social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and what other social platform you're currently using. But right here, this is 1,200 by 628. You can adjust based on your sizing, but I believe that is the most relevant one. I could be wrong though. And from there we have our email / landing page size, but I'm going to be doing a little banner for email. It's going to be nothing fancy, but it's going to be something, right? This one is 600 by 250. You can see the size of your artboard right here. And let's say you wanted to create a new artboard. Well, all you would have to do is hit A on your keyboard, and you can just, draw out or just drag this little guy here, and he'll make you an artboard. And then from there, you can start putting stuff in that artboard and create your first digital asset. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually just remove this. Let me just show you something cool. So if you go here and you wanted to adjust your artboard, you can come here and obviously type in a new value. So let's just say 700 was the width, and then it'll adjust accordingly. So let me jump in here. I want to point out something. You can post or paste or design with inside the artboard, and anything, if for instance, if something spills over, right? Let's just change the color for this just for an example. Anything inside the artboard, right, will then be exported within the artboard, right? It won't actually spill over, as you're seeing here. I know in some programs, if you export the image, it'll also export wrong, kind of strange, because it's also considering this element here as part of the artboard. So you have this weird, janky kind of final product, which is not what you wanted initially. But XD doesn't do that. XD is smart. So let's kind of just jump in here. So I have this social post, and I want to promote a webinar, right? So we're going to be making a webinar little campaign / banner. So I know that I have a somewhat friendly, I guess, identity or logo here. We have some nice orange tones, and we have this nice little bluish gray going on here. And we have a nice, I guess, warm and inviting font. So I kind of want to represent that throughout the rest of the little campaign. So first things first, I know what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to have an image here to the right, and I'm going to want to have some sort of element here to kind of ground all the information. And I kind of want to have it angled so your eye is kind of drawn to that image. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create this rectangle. So here on your left, you have your basic tools. You have your selection tool, you have your rectangle tool, you have your ellipse, your polygon, your line tool, your pen tool, your text tool, your artboard, and your magnify. Right here, if you just kind of hover it, it'll show you the shortcuts to access those tools. So let me just jump in here, and I'm going to make a rectangle. If you didn't see that, let me do it again. Rewind. So I'm going to click on the rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and drag. And I'm holding shift at the same time, so it's all proportioned, right? But I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than the artboard, and then I'm going to rotate it by holding down shift. It'll just kind of just snap to the next position. And then I'm going to pull this out here, and I'm not going to have it proportioned anymore, but there we go. And then what I want to do is, seeing as the logo has rounded edges, right? It's fairly rounded, right? We got these nice little swoops here. We have this little logo mark that's rounded. So I want to represent that in this. So first things first, I want to remove the border, right? Because if you see right now, we currently have a border. We don't want that border. So we're going to remove that border here. And I know that I want the background to not be really stark orange, but maybe like a nice neutral or a light, an off-white, if you will. So I'm going to go to the white here. Again, let me just rewind to show you what's going on. I'm going to go to the fill color with the object selected. So you click on the object, go to the fill color, and then here you're presented with a basic color selection box. You can type in the hex code, give you the RGB, the HSB, whatnot, and then here you can adjust the opacity of that color you're choosing. So for what I'm going to do, I'm just going to just take this and just sweep it all the way to the left, and then bring up the yellows a little bit. I would say about there is good. And then I'm just going to pick an off white. I would say that's fine, right? It's just barely. It's like a little tinge of yellow, guys. A little tinge. So what I'm going to do now is, you see this little circle here? Well, it's telling me, hey, you can make this edge, all edges, rounded. And that's what I want to do, because everything else in this fake little brand has rounded edges. So let's try to keep it consistent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click, and then I'm going to drag. Look at that. You can turn the dang thing into an orange. You can change the dang thing into a circle if you'd like. So what I want to do is I just want to have it just barely rounded. All right, around that. And I'm going to bring this up more. Something like that, maybe. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I'm liking that. Let's pull this out some more. As you can see, I'm just kind of adjusting the box as I go. You can kind of just grab all these points here and go with the flow. I want a little bit more rounded out. I think that's fine. And then I'll pull it over here. Just make sure that it's spilling over so you don't have that little edge of white showing. There we go. I think that's fine. We can always adjust some more later on. I don't want it too round. I think it's okay. Awesome. So now what I want to do is paste our logo. So I'm just going to copy the logo, and I'm just going to paste it in. Now, if you have your own logo, for instance, let me just show you. Let me just export this guy real quick. Let's just say you didn't have the logo on the artboard, because you're not going to probably. What you're going to want to do is just take your logo, and then you can just plop it in. Just drag it right on into anywhere on the artboard, on the canvas, and then from there you can adjust accordingly. Right? So I'm just going to delete that and just take the EPS file I have here. So I have the logo, and I want to paste it around somewhere around this area, right? That's fine. I'm okay with the size. That's okay. So what I want to do is make sure that everything is kind of consistent across the board, right? So I want to make sure this space here is correct, and make sure this space is also correct. It's around the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the R for rectangle, and then just go to the edge, and then hold on Shift and drag to about, like, let's just say, I don't know, 45 pixels by 45 pixels, right? That sounds about right. That's good. And then what we're going to do is just copy and paste that. That's Command C on a Mac. I don't know what it is for a Windows computer, but you know how to do it. Just copy and paste. I think you can even just you can just right click it and type in copy and paste if you'd like. Do it the good old fashioned way. So we have these two blocks here, and I just want to make sure that get it pretty darn close to consistent on both sides. There it is, looking snazzy. So what I want to do now is save. That's Command S on a Mac, or you can just come over here and type in, actually not type in, you would go to click and then hit save as, and then it'll, I don't know why, but it defaults to the cloud. So you can save to the cloud, but if you don't want to do that, you can just come over here and go to save as local document, and that'll just save it directly onto your computer, and then you would just name it whatever you'd like to name it, and then hit save. Okay, we're going through this quick, guys. So next, I want to have the logo a little bit grounded. I don't like the logo kind of floating. It could work, depends on your logo, but in this instance, I just kind of want to ground it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the line tool, and I'm going to click and drag where I would like that line to be. I would say about there is fine. And then what you're going to want to do to deselect, you can just hit V again to get your selection tool, and then hit Shift and then just the down arrow, and you can just manipulate the position of that line. So I think that's fine. I want this color to be essentially the same thing here. So what I'll do is I'll select that line, and then you see it's the border color. You can hit the eyedropper tool, just click it and sample that color. Or you can just hit I. Whoops, that's not working. That's weird, it's not working. I guess I didn't have it selected. Okay, well, disregard that. You can just do it the good old-fashioned way. Click it and then just sample like I just showed you. There we go. And I like the thickness of it. I think it's 1 pixel. It is 1 pixel. You can adjust the thickness. So if I wanted it 0.5 thickness, then you can just do so right there. But I think the 1 pixel is fine for now. Now, what I want to do is I don't like that it's so stark, right? So what I want to do is just kind of lower the opacity, because this is not so important, right? We just wanted to have it as an element to kind of break up the information. So what I'm going to do is go to the opacity, and I'm going to drop this to like 35%. And that looks a little bit nicer. I think I might even drag this out some more. So you can click this little circle and then just drag anywhere you want. If you want it to drag out in a line, so just so it's not jumping around, just hit Shift or hold down Shift and then click and drag, and then it'll stay within that line. So let me just bring this out here. There we go. That's good. So now what we want to do is start filling out the information. So I'm going to call this webinar Getting Started with Humanly. Getting Started with Humanly for your company. I guess that's a horrible webinar name. Whatever. But if you do miss that, what I just did was I just hit the T on my key to pull up the text tool, and then just as your normal word processor, right, you would just type in anything you'd like, and then it'll just show up on the screen. So what we're going to do is hit V again to get the selector, and I'm going to select that, and I want to change the font because I don't like Apple system font. So you have this little text box here. Make sure you have the whole thing selected, so just double click it, and then you click this and it'll show you all your fonts. Obviously we don't have the same fonts, so just choose a font, like I said, that works well for your company and that just matches your brand. If not, then just default to Helvetica or, I don't know, Arial, whatever you think works best. In this instance, I'm going to choose decisions. Let's go with this guy. Cool. So I'm going to bump this up because right now it's at 11 points, and I don't think it's a little bit small, right? So let's bump it up to 50. It's way too big, right? Let's try 45. It's still too big. 30. 30 is a decent size, right? That's fine. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to sample the Humanly color. And I like that. That looks fine. I think it's a little bit big. So let's see if I have anything else in my font family, right? So here to the right of the font size, you should have some font family. So if you have other fonts with inside of that main font, so you have your italic, your bolds, just like I said in your previous word processor, you probably are familiar with this. But not every font has, brothers and sisters, if you will. So what I'll do is I'll just click on, I think I have a light, right? That's 2 lights. Let's go. Actually, let's just keep it with book, right? That's fine. And there you go. I actually think we can bump this up. Let's just make this 40 because the title's kind of small, and I kind of want to have this on 2 lines, kind of like that. There you go. Perfect. Looking clean, looking mean. That's exactly what I wanted. So now I have that main title, and now I want to, show the date and the time of the webinar. So you can easily just type in the date and the time, no big deal. But let's bump this up because you're better than just, I'm going to put the information there and call it a day. No, we're here for a reason, and we're trying to get better, right? And I'm here to make you better. I'm here to help you through that process. So what we're going to do is I'll show you a free resource, a cool free resource. So let's go to our let's go to our browser, and then we're going to type in fontawesome.com. Let's just jump in there. Okay. Perfect. So you're going to be presented with this screen, blah, blah, blah. You can read it if you'd like. Just come up here, and I want to represent the date and the time of the webinar. So let's search for a clock. Ah, interesting. Time. Okay, so the day that I record this, Font Awesome seems to be down. Font Awesome, you're making me look bad. You're making me look bad, man. Okay, so no worries. I have a backup. Backup 2. Let's go to backdoor icons. Here we go. So we're going to go to flaticon.com. So this also has a whole bunch of icons you can choose from. As you can see, lots of icons here. But we're going to choose something that represents, like I said, a clock and or time. So we're just going to type in maybe time, and we'll see what we get. Awesome. You have all these really cool icons. Not all of them are going to work for your design. Not all of them are going to work for your company. Choose what you'd like. That's why I like Font Awesome more, because they're more consistent in the way they look, and they're kind of neutral. They're not super, I guess, stylized as this one would be, or something else like that. Okay, so what we'll do is just find one that's kind of neutral. So I think this is the decent one, so I'm going to take this, and I'm going to, let's download an SVG. Free download, thank you very much. And then one more, I need, oh look, they have a calendar here. That's fine, I'll take the calendar too. Maybe I'll take this one. Yeah, this one's fine. And then download an SVG. Free download. Thank you very much. And then let's go to Show in Finder. And then we have a clock and we have a calendar. Throw those bad boys on the desktop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just drop them in here. Whoops. Make sure to, that's a good example here. Make sure to drop them anywhere, outside of the artboard or inside the canvas. Just make sure you're not trying to put it inside of an asset, because it's going to think, oh, you want to have this kind of masked inside that. And that's not what we want. We want to have it as an element. So just put it outside of the artboard. And then we'll just put the calendar in there too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of them, and I'm going to hold Option and Shift to downsize them. Whoops. It's actually Command Option Shift to size them down proportionally. Why are you doing this to me? There we go. Awesome. Or you can just size them down individually. But let's just size them up to where we think would be good. And I think that's fine for now, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the calendar. I'm sorry, that's the clock icon. And he's right there. So I don't want him brown or that bluish gray. I want him to be orange, but not super, super orange. So what I'll do is I'll select both of them. And I'll hit the I on the keyboard to pull up the eyedropper tool. And then boom, Look at that. We changed the color of the icons. Super cool. Now, what we're going to do is lower the opacity on these two. So let's make these 35. No, it's too little. Let's make it 50. 50 is more reasonable. Yeah, I like the 50. Now, let's proportion this one correctly so he's still kind of big compared to the clock. And I think that's about right. So what I did there, let me just backtrack, is I just clicked on the icon and then hit shift and then dragged. And XD will do its best and be like, hey, that's pretty close to another asset. So let me show you that it's, pretty close. And it does that by showing these little guides as you go designing, which is awesome. It's really helpful. So there we go. That looks dandy. I'm gonna reduce this a little bit more because yes, it might be correct, but to the eye, it looks a little bit off. Whoopsies. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna push this over. Okay, so we are gonna fill out some information. So we'll just say this webinar is gonna be on Friday. July, if I could spell July, I don't know, 15th, 2020. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop the font size, right? So we go back over here again and we'll just make this, let's make this 20. That's actually pretty good. I like that. I'm going to just line him up there. I'm going to shift this dude over and I'm just going to copy him over. So you can Command C it or just right click and then type in copy. I'm holding down shift to move it proportionally on that line. So it's not jumping up or I'm not like eyeballing it, right? You can also just drag it around and XD will snap it right to the next nearest object or whatever. And there we go. Perfect. I just realized that this is the time. We'll just say this is going to be at, I don't know, we'll say it's going to be done at 1:30 to 3. So 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Boom. Done. Okay. Now I want to just move this down a little bit like that. Perfect. That's starting to look good. That looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. The results are coming in, guys. You're looking like a graphic designer and you're thinking like a graphic designer, and I'm proud of you. I really am. I'm just moving this guy. I'm kind of finagling as I go. Just want to make sure that the spaces are kind of consistent from here to the top of that. But yeah, so far so good. Now, I want to show who is presenting and who that person's going to be, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put that person in a circle, as everyone else does with their webinar people or the presenters. So again, we go to, let me show you how to do that again. I'm just jumping the gun here, guys. When I get in the flow, and I just go with it. So we're going over here, R on the keyboard, or just come over here to your little toolbar, click on the circle, click and hit shift. It will, size up, size down, how you'd like. I think that's a good size right there. I think it's good. Yeah. And what I want to do is I want to remove the border for now. So no border. See you later, border. And what I want to do is I want to put a headshot in here. Somebody, the presenter, whoever the presenter is going to be. So I'll go to Google for now. I already on Google. Headshots. Perfect. in this instance, you would probably already have the presenter's headshot already ready to go. But I do not, because I am ill prepared in this instance. So let me just find a person who is going to be presenting who looks presentable. Oh, who's you? Oh my gosh, this is like finding a unicorn, guys. Look at this. Okay, so just gonna save him here. So assuming you have the image ready to go, you would just take the person's image and drop them in there. XD is going to be like, hey, I know you want to put that image in this asset. That's why I'm blue. So just drop me in. And I've been dropped in. There he goes. There he is. So now you essentially have like a mask going on, right? So you can double click in here, and then you can just kind of adjust to where you'd like to place this beautiful man. And I think that's a decent place, and that's a hell of a headshot there. So you could just have that little thing there and call it a day, but we can, snazz it up a little bit. Let's click it again, and we're gonna add a drop shadow, and it defaults to these settings here. You can change the drop shadow color to whatever you'd like. As you can see, I'm kind of changing it as we go. And from here, the B, which stands for blur, you can just adjust that value. So if I change this to 40, and then just to show you how big it is, it just kind of spreads it out more. So the more blur you put in, the further the drop shadow is going to spread out. Right, so if it's 10, no, maybe 5. I think 5 is fine. And then you can just change the X and Y axis. So if you want the drop shadow to kind of shift down more, you would just change the Y axis, and the Z axis would just push it to the right. But let's just set those all to 0, and I'll give you a cool little pro tip. What most people like to do is they just choose black, right? Oh, a shadow is black. But depending on what color, the object is on, that shadow is going to kind of take to that background color, right? So in this instance, we have this little off-white. So what I want to do is go to the shadow, and I'm going to sample the off-white color, and then I'm just going to take the points and just bring it down a little bit. So I have a darker color, something around there, that's fine. And then what I'll do is I'll bump this up to, let's do 10. And then you can kind of see it, but it's kind of hard to see. So we're gonna just make it a little bit darker. Something like that's fine, yeah. And that's cool. I'm happy with that. Yeah. There we go. Actually, no, I'm not happy with that. It's too dark. So we're gonna go to the opacity, and we're gonna just bring that opacity down. It's gonna be something around like that is fine. Yeah, that's okay. There she is. Boom. So now what I want to do is I want to put in some presenter information. So we can type in here. Oh, look at that. I'm jumping the gun again, guys. I'm just clicking on this asset here because this little text box, because I want to keep the same parameters. So I can, type in the text tool again and go through all that the whole process. But just to save time, I'm just gonna copy and paste it, and then put it to where I'd like it. And this is gonna say presented by, and we could even, let's just make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it 30. No. I think it's fine. What we'll do is we'll just bold it up, right? So I'm just gonna double click that, and then I'm gonna go over here and then just do maybe even medium. Yeah, medium's fine. Medium's okay, and I'm gonna copy that again, and this person's gonna be called Tommy King And then we'll just change his to book and Tommy King title. We'll call him sales rep. And then I'm gonna just kind of lower the font for his sales title, because this is his title, because it's not so important. So we'll just drop it down to 15, and then we're gonna italicize it just to give it a little bit a little something different. Book italic, boom. There it goes, Tommy King. Obviously the person's name is bigger, it's gonna be filling up that space more, so it looks a little bit odd, but that's just a real world example, right? Not everyone's name is gonna fit there. You have somebody's with a bigger name, a longer name, whatever. And I think that's fine, right? That's clean. You can read the information really easily. You have your title, you have your date and time, and then you have the presenter, right? You can also fit another presenter here. You would just kind of shift it over and then put the information at the bottom and just finagle with it like that. But in this instance, we're not going to do that. Okay, so now I want to have that image here to the right, right? Kind of just ties in what Humanly is about, and also, I guess, kind of just brings another element of interest to this webinar banner. So I'm going to show you another free asset, which I'm pretty sure you already know by now, but let's go to Unsplash.com. Unsplash is a great resource for photos. I guess they're submitted by the community, but they're really current and they're pretty high quality and they look great. So instead of you having to spend, I don't know, $45, $50, $60 on a stock image from iStock or Shutterstock or whatever other stock website it is, this is a good alternative, especially if you have a lot of blog posts that you post often. It is a little bit limited sometimes, especially if you're typing in keywords like something in technology, or if you have like a really niche market. I don't necessarily think you'll find a lot of options, but this is a good resource if you need to just pick something real quick. So I know I want to see an image of a family, so I'm going to look through something in here that fits the bill. This woman right here, this looks good. Her and her child. Download free. Don't mind if I didgeridoo. Just throw him onto the desktop. And then what we're going to do is make a rectangle. So just go over here to the rectangle tool or hit R on the keyboard. Go to the edge, click and drag him out. There he is. But wait, he's on top of the information, on top of that cool little asset we have going on here. So just click him, and then you can right click him, and then just hit send to back. Boom, it's gonna go right behind all that. Or if you're on a Mac, you can hit Command Shift and then the bracket key, if that makes any sense. It's the left bracket key, guys. But I think just send it to back. It'll be easier that way. You can fill it with whatever color you'd like. Doesn't matter, because we're gonna place our image inside there. Let me just move this over here. My workflow, guys. I don't know how everyone else's workflow is, but this is how I work. And then we're gonna take him, and then we're just gonna drop him inside there. Boom, looking fresh to death. Okay, so it looks okay. It's not positioned the best. I mean, you could be happy with that and call it a day, but I, on the other hand, am not super thrilled about the position. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna double click, and I'm going to size up the image around there, and then I'm just gonna push her over a little bit like that. That looks nice. Look at that, guys. Look at that. We made a nice social post not even using Canva. You didn't even use Canva. Canva wasn't even used. I'm proud of you. You deserve a round of applause. It's a nice little clap for you. Great. So let's save our work. Okay, so now we're going to take what we just made here and make it for our email. Now, it's a much smaller canvas, but we'll make it work. We might have to remove some information. We might even have to we might have to remove Tommy King, the beautiful unicorn of a man. Look at that beard. And that fade. Oh gosh, guys. Oh man. It's like the mullet of our generation. It's beautiful. Anyways, here we go. So what we can do, let's just see what happens, right? Let's just get the background. So what we want to do is just grab this little element here and the background image, right? That's going to be our base. So we're just going to copy it and then come over here and paste it. Oh, just an FYI, if you'd like to, spread out the canvases, just come over here, click on the title, and then push them over. You can put them anywhere you'd like. I just like to throw them out over. And then if you want to change the title of that that canvas, you just double click on the name, and then you can just type whatever you'd like. So let's come back over here, and then we're gonna paste that in there. Oh my gosh, it's too big. What do? We're just gonna size it down. So click on the edge, hit shift, and just size down to where you think looks appropriate. Okay, something like that. Let's bring this down a little bit more. Not that, the whole thing. There we go. Bring it down a little bit. Okay, so now what we want to do is readjust this image because it looks a little bit strange in that position. I'm gonna bring them over like that, and then just shift it ever so slightly, maybe a little bit more. I think that's fine. That looks okay. I'm okay with that. And now what we're gonna do is take the Humanly logo and this little divider, copy, come over here, paste it in, and then we're gonna just size it down to about there. That's fine. Roughly place where you need to place it. And then we're gonna extrude this out a little bit. Hold down shift to make sure it's not jumping around on you. I would say right there. But now the thickness of the line is a little bit too thick for my taste. So what I'm gonna do is just click on that line and then come to the size, and we're gonna type in 0.5, and that'll just kind of thin it out, right? That looks okay. Okay, now we're gonna come over here and we're gonna grab the title, plop the title in. Title is too big. What you could do is just click on this little point here, hit shift, and then just bring it in to where you'd like. You can probably make it a little bit bigger. Something like that is good. So you might notice, okay, there's not enough space to put Tommy King or the presenter image in there. It's definitely a compromise. You have to kind of weigh what's gonna be most important. And I think in this instance, it's an email. The person has limited time. They're probably on the toilet looking at the email. They want to see the date and time. You can put Tommy King even in here if you'd like. It wouldn't be consistent with what you have going on currently, but it could be done. You can find another place to put them in there if you want to just cram it with a whole bunch of shit. But in this instance, we're not going to do that. We're just going to have the date and time, the title, the logo, and then that stock image we found on Unsplash. So we're going to come back over here. I'm going to select the icon clock, the information, the calendar, and also the information for the date. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it in, adjust as so, and then hit shift. Whoa. And it's going to do its best to size it up proportionally to what you had previously. But if it's off a little bit, just adjust. If you'd like to make this a little bit easier, you can just kind of select this, and this, and then hit Command G, and then you make this one group, right? So from there, you can not have to worry about selecting every single thing all the time and just adjust that one section there. And then if you want to go in and edit, like for instance, the information, you would just double click, and then you still have access to those different elements within inside that group. So we're going to zoom out here, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. I think that's fine. And then I'll bring him down to something about right there is good. You can even bring him down more. Around that, I guess, is fine. There you go. Awesome. Looking good. So we've just achieved a really big milestone, a big achievement. You did this all without Canva. And it is possible. It just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of patience and a little bit of creativity. But I'm here to help you. I will guide you through this with more videos in the future. So you have these done. They're ready to go. Now you have to export them. How do you do that? Let me show you how to do that. So you would just select your artboard, right? You're going to have a little blue highlight around it. And then you go to File, Export. Actually, you know what? You can just go to File, Save As. No. Yeah. File, Export, Selected. And then you would just export to wherever you would like to export it to. So if it's on your desktop, throw it on your desktop. If it's in a folder, throw it in your folder. Doesn't matter. Here you have some different formats. You have your PNG, SVG, PDF, JPEG, whatever. Then you have just the design, the web, the iOS, and the Android. I always export for web, and then I designed at ×2, and that'll give you two files. You'll have a ×1 and ×2. ×2 just has a higher resolution. That's what I do. You do whatever you want to do. But I find that this has the best results when it comes to web. But I could be wrong. So yeah, once you have that, just hit export, and it then exports. And there you go. There is your banner, looking beautiful, looking pristine. What we want to do now is, if you'd like to have, say you have, I don't know, a campaign for paid ads, right? Google ads, and you have different sizes for different scenarios, for different websites, whatever. You can just select all the artboards. Let me just select this one, hold down Shift, and then hit Command E, and that'll pull up the export box. And then the same process. You would just do PNG or JPEG, web, ×2, export. Let's just replace one we just did right now. And then boom, you have your files right here, exported, ready to go, looking good. And that'll about do it for this video, guys. I just want to thank you for taking the time to, actually go through this tutorial. I hope it helps you a little bit. I hope it kind of convinced you to, to actually start using Adobe XD. It's not hard to use. You have limited tools, and there's not much to do. I mean, there is a lot of stuff you can do, but for our instance, this is as good as it gets. And it's fun. It's easy to make. It's really easy. I just showed you how to make the assets pretty quickly. So yeah, thank you again. If you'd like to see more videos in the future, like and subscribe. This is my first one. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe it comes out good. Maybe it doesn't come out good. But stick around. I'm gonna keep on keeping on, and I hope you stick around with me. Have a great day. Good luck to you. And I'll see you in the next episode.